Podcast City Network.
Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show. A shot of entertainment to the head. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the entertainment.
What's happening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Everett Lee Show podcast. I'm Everett Lee. Quick shout out to all my followers on Twitter. You could follow me at the Everett_Lee, Facebook.com/Everett Lee. Click that thumbs up. And of course, Podcast City Network, the official host of the Everett Lee Show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are again. Once again, my friend, another week, another guest, or should I say guest, on the program tonight. I have a pretty good, interesting, fun program lined up tonight on Podcast City Network here on Twitch, streaming live. Of course, Everett Lee, always hitting it out each week with my guest, and I couldn't do any of that without my sponsors and friends of the show. Podcast City Network. Head over to podcastcity.net for the latest podcasts such as The Everett Lee Show, Super Radio Brothers, Second Rounds, Florida, New York Edition, Imaginarium with Scott and Todd, Chris Carnage Show, Final Score, and much, much more on podcastcity.net. City Limits Taproom in DeLand, Florida, home of Draft Day and Podcast City Network. Head over there to find a wide selection of brew on tap. Food menu, grilled cheese is excellent. And indoor and outdoor TV for sporting events, stage out back for live events, and much, much more at City Limits Taproom in DeLand, Florida. And, of course, second Atlantic Sounds, the second best place or the first place to buy vinyl records. Head over to Atlantic Sound Records in Daytona Beach, Florida, to find that vinyl, CD, or cassette that you may have lost at one point. So be sure to check them out. And here's a little word from Atlantic Sounds.
Atlantic Sound, Daytona's hottest music source. Over 40,000 new and used records, classic albums, and the latest music grooves on vinyl. Browse favorites and essentials to build an epic collection. And Atlantic Sounds is your CD mecca with over 20,000 new and used. You don't have it, and they make it. Order. Love music. We get music. Discover the music nirvana voted best around. Atlantic Sounds.
Be sure to check them out in Daytona Beach there. Hit them up on Facebook at Atlantic Sound Records. If you're booking that destination to get away from all, Telltale Travel. Hit up Brittany Embler over on podcastcity.net in the sponsor section. She will help you book that destination to get away from it all. And, of course, Sportsinity Customs, official license makers of podcastcity.net t-shirts. So be sure to hit them up as well. And this is all brought to you by Podcast City Network over on podcastcity.net. That's a mouthful. I got a bigger mouthful to feed you, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I have none other than my two guests tonight. You may have listened to them on Podcast City Network every Monday, dropping a new episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me none other than Imaginarium.
Wait. How does that go? At least we got the fuck-ups out of the way early. Oh, fuck's sake, I just stepped on the dog's ball.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the podcast tonight, Scott Colbert and the horror nerd Todd Starutch of the Imaginarium podcast. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
Gentlemen, wow, we got an upgrade. I haven't been this excited since my last herpes outbreak.
Oh, oh my God, I got something for that right there.
Damn!
I figured I would start us in the toilet early and just get it over with.
Yeah, exactly. We like to veer off into the ditch as soon as possible.
So Todd, have you actually heard that intro? Because I know you never listened to our show.
Why in the world would I listen to our show? No, actually, I have heard the intro, but it's been a while. So when it played just now, I think I pissed myself.
That's something you guys didn't expect, did you, man? Full of surprises.
Very nice, very nice. Well, thanks for having us on. It is cool to be back on the show with you once again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for having us on. It's nice, actually, for a change to have Todd and I being a guest together someplace. Because usually we're not allowed to hang out together anywhere.
Yes, exactly. And now we really don't have to do any work, and we can fuck up someone else's show.
Yeah.
I know, I'm doing the legwork.
And we don't have to worry about those restraining orders or staying 500 feet away from the school, things like that. We don't have to worry about.
I
know. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, talking about being in trouble, man. With you guys, when I'm going on social media, I'm sitting there looking at Twitter, I'm looking at Facebook, and of course, when I'm listening to you guys, it's Todd. I always love his rants going on social media and posting it out there, and people coming out with the pitchforks and the fucking torches. They're like, ah! And then it's like okay, Todd riles up the crowd. He gets in trouble on social media. It's like people's gonna love him or hate him. And then I'm like, Scott, he don't really say much except in tweets when he gets out there and it's like with the government and how politics are. Fuck this, fuck that. And then all of a sudden it's like Scott's like, you know what? I can top you, Todd. I got thrown in Twitter jail.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I need to step up my game. So far, Scott's been in Twitter prison. He got blocked by Roseanne Barr, and he got a visit from Homeland Security. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, today is the 1-year anniversary of my visit from Homeland Security.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, so you're due is what you're saying.
Wow. If you don't mind me, Scott, I've heard you mention it on the podcast. What did you send something out on social media and they got back to you? Was it that?
It's something that I still have trouble understanding. They came by and they started asking me about if I had been talking to people underage, which I hadn't, and if they could look at my laptop. And I said no. And then the more I thought about it, I thought, I've got nothing to hide.
Right.
And
right.
As cynical as I am about the government, there's still that part of me that thinks that they actually do some good sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't specifically worried about them framing me for anything. So I called this guy back and said, yeah, come on, take a look at my laptop. So they came by a couple of days after that, and there's this black Ford Bronco in the parking lot, and they had 2 or 3 techs who do laptop and computer shit. And they looked at my laptop, and while they're doing that, this guy is asking me all these questions about who I talk to. And he starts going on about my politics and if I supported Antifa. And, some of the tweets. And he spent about a half an hour talking to me about that shit. And then they let me go and give me my laptop back. And I haven't heard from them since.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. They're probably like, you know what, man? It's go ahead.
So I guess the lesson from that is don't call the president names. Unless you have a restricted account on Twitter.
Exactly. They didn't ask you why you had so many pictures of a, bald, slightly overweight guy on your laptop.
No, and they didn't even ask about all those dick pics I put on there either.
Oh my God.
Yeah, what's amazing?
I guess what's amazing. They probably didn't blow them up enough to even see it. So,
What's amazing, though, is that they probably don't give a shit about any of that stuff, as long as you don't say anything bad about Donald Trump's hair.
Oh my God, what the fuck he's done?
Oh damn! Oh damn!
What? There's a part that Scott is leaving out of the story. As they were leaving, he stood on his porch and said, "But I was promised the cavity search."
Yeah, I was very disappointed I did not get one.
Oh man!
He answered the door in a smoking jacket and everything.
I had to give it to myself later on. I was so disappointed.
Oh damn! did you answer the door like on an episode of Cops? Man, it's like they knock on the door, you open up, there you are with the white beater.
Yeah, and then I even snapped the rubber glove on.
Oh man, that is great. That is great.
Yeah.
Besides, not getting the cavity searches that you were waiting for, and not pissing people off on Twitter for telling it like it is. What's been going on with you guys lately, man? Todd, you have the release of the Theater of Terror that's finally coming out that you and Tom were working on, which I talked to you last, I believe it was last year about that. So how's that going?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. The project, conceptually, we started talking about it just about 2 years ago, and we're finally putting the final touches on our DVD Blu-ray combo, which is available for pre-order. And then we have our theatrical premiere is coming up January 12th, 2019 at the Landmark Lowe's Theater in Jersey City, New Jersey. And we are really excited about that. 2 years of work, four separate short films wrapped up into one, each with its own cast and crew. So yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, me and Tom and our co-producers, Russell Hackett and Diane Hackett, all from Theater of Terror, are really excited about it. If people like things like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, and those sort of tales, well, we have four of them that are all woven together into the Theater of Terror anthology. So we are very, very excited about that.
Nice. And Scott, man, you just released your new book. How's that been?
Well, it's been good. Well, it came out in August, and people seem to have liked it. The thing about books is people tell you how much they love it, but then they never bother to leave reviews. So all I have is their word to go on, and you either believe me or don't. But people have generally liked it quite a bit. Todd's bought a copy. I think it's holding up his kitchen table as you speak.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it is. No, it is. It was just the right thickness.
That's not the first time I've heard that.
Oh man, that's
and my good friend Wade J. Proctor, Wade Radford, whatever he's calling himself this week, would be doing an audiobook version of it. And I'm working on my next one. And I'm just very happy that Life in Amber has come out. When I was on your show the last time, it was a couple months before its release. Mm-hmm. And so now it's nice to be on afterwards. And so it's available in paperback and ebook versions everywhere. Even Walmart has the ebook version.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you knew that. Walmart is now, this is serious. This isn't a setup for a joke or anything. But Walmart is now in the ebook business.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that, man.
Yeah.
No way. No way. That's something new, man. I noticed you can drive up there. You can like order your groceries and drive up there, and they'll throw them in your car for you. Now you get ebooks.
Yeah, I think if you could possibly get any lazier, I don't feel like driving a half a block to Walmart to get my groceries.
Right?
I'll have them delivered.
For an extra fee, the person will come into your house and feed it to you.
and give you a handy for another $5.
The massage your balls and hand you a milkshake.
Amazon is constantly expanding. You never know what goods and services they're going to offer next.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow, that is crazy, man. That is crazy. That is with the Theater of Terror coming out on January 12th, the premiere for it, and then with your new book, Scott. Anything else you've been doing? Have you been watching any new TV shows or anything on Netflix as of late?
Todd, I'll let you go first.
Awkward silences. I thought that was your specialty. Well, there's one. Speaking of Netflix, there's a show that Scott and I we talked about on our show that we both really liked, and I liked it so much I started a second run through of The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah,
it's just amazing, and I'm watching it through the second time to look for all the things that I have missed the first time. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot. And I'm also looking at it just from a filmmaking standpoint, just the way they pulled it off. Everybody's talking about episode 6, which if you've seen it, there's a funeral, a big part of the episode takes place in a funeral. Uh-huh. And there's a single unbroken 18-minute take that takes place in the funeral parlor that is just masterful how they pulled it off. And if you read a few articles on how they shot this show, it's astonishing. For me, like doing a film where I had to remember like 3 lines for like a 1-minute take was a challenge. I can't imagine having to remember lines for an unbroken 18-minute take.
Damn.
But they did it. So the show is just amazing, and it's one of those few things that I've seen very, very little negative commentary about, which is rare because there's always one dingus that has to be contrarian, and when there's something that's very popular, there has to be one, fucking hipster, wearing his heavy metal T-shirt, standing in front of his DVD collection, talking about how everything sucks, But I've seen very little of that when it comes to Hill House.
Yeah. I agree with you right there, man. I've heard you guys talk about that on your podcast, man, and yeah, I heard what you were talking about there with there was like maybe 1 or 2 people that have said something bad about it, but other than that, people loved it. I know you mentioned someone's like, oh, it's not scary, and it's like you're like, the fucking ain't, man. And look at I jumped the fucking few times and I pissed myself. I love shit like that,
Well, you just have to embrace it. Like, when people say, well, it's not really scary, I'm like, well, okay, you're a fucking grown adult. Like, what are you really going to be scared about,
Yeah.
But you just have to embrace it. So when I watched it, I turned off the lights and I allowed myself to get into the story, So when the scares did come, I was legitimately startled,
Yeah. Yeah. I still I still love stuff like that,
I didn't really the jump scares, and I've talked about this on the Imaginarium, so I'm blue in the face about how I really don't like jump scares. And I mean, the cheap kind of jump scares, the cat coming out of nowhere with, the loud music all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Cheap shit like that just annoys me. But the jump scares, that were in Hill House, they were few and far between, and they were so effective. I didn't mind them. It's the best thing that I've seen this year as far as anything in movies or TV, bar none. Nothing even comes close to this show,
right?
In terms of quality this year, or maybe even the last few years. And the writing on the last episode is some of the most beautiful writing. And I know a lot of it they actually took from the book Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
But the way that it was done, it was just magnificent. I'm going to be giving it a second watch again this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out because I've been going back and forth looking at stuff on Netflix and stuff, just trying to find just different movies and stuff. But here lately, I've been kind of watching like kids movies since my daughter. We've been watching like the Disney content on there, so it's like that's basically what's in my house now. It's like Frozen's being played about almost 24 hours a day, and then we have the one movie that Mulana, the one that had The Rock in it. Who did the voice of the one demigod. That movie there, the songs, I mean, my wife's been watching that. My daughter loves it and stuff. But when she goes to sleep at night, me and my wife, we've been catching up on we finally finished it today, was watching the rest of the episodes of the Mayans MC. It's based off of in the same world of Sons of Anarchy. And it fucking ended great, man. Cliffhanger. Can't wait for season 2 to happen because the last 3 episodes, it really drew you in on what the hell's going on with the characters and where the story's going. And it ended on a big ass cliffhanger. And I'm like, no way.
Cool. I watched season 1 of Sons of Anarchy, and then for no good reason, I just didn't keep up with it. I guess I just was watching too much TV, and something had to go, and that was it.
Yeah. I know on Netflix they have all 7 seasons of it. They have the whole series on Netflix there, and the way that show went was just brilliant. Kurt Sutter was just a brilliant writer, and how he basically brought that world to life and just where he went with it with the characters and stories and stuff. I mean, when it started out, it took a little bit, to build on the characters, but as the seasons progressed, you found out more and more with the story, more behind these characters, which I thought was excellent,
Cool.
Yep. Todd's like, cool.
No. Believe it or not, it's rare, but there are times when I, literally have nothing to say.
Yeah.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'll tell you, the show that I've been watching, and I've really, really been enjoying it a lot, is Peaky Blinders. And it's about crime family in Birmingham, England, in the early 1900s, maybe like 1920s. And Cillian Murphy plays the lead in it, and it's just absolutely fantastic. It's beautifully shot, well written, and it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. And I absolutely love it. I think people should check this out. It started off on the BBC, and then, as generally happens when something hits on BBC and it gets popular, Netflix buys it. So the next season is going to be on, I think, financed by Netflix, but that won't be out until next year sometime.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm gonna have to check out both those there. And one thing I want to ask you guys: Game of Thrones fans?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What'd you think about the teaser?
Scott, I was actually waiting for you.
Well, it's funny. Game of Thrones is actually one of those shows that people automatically assume that I've gotten into and I've been watching, but I've only seen a couple of episodes from the first season. I've got the first season on Blu-ray, so it's not like I don't have an interest in it. It's just, I think I was just waiting until the end of the series so I could watch the whole fucking thing at once.
Yeah.
Because I figured I would do that rather than wait for George Martin to finish the books, because I'm not getting any younger, and he may die before he finishes these fucking books. So,
I know, man.
Finally, HBO just said fuck it, and they just went forward. Before the current book is going to be done, because there's no way they could wait.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for it. It's one of my favorite shows, and I've been reading about the upcoming season, and they've spent as much on the upcoming season as a feature film would cost. And from what I've read, there's a climactic battle that is the single largest cinematic battle ever filmed, either TV or theater. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait. I just can't wait to see that. It doesn't show up until April of next year. And I'm like, oh, fuck you, HBO. Why, don't even say that then. Just don't even, just show it like next March. Oh, next week is the premiere of Game of Thrones. Like, make me wait till fucking April. Fuck you, HBO.
I know, I hate that.
It's only 5 months away. It's going to go like that.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I hate that, man, because I was just like everybody else there, Todd, last year when the last season ended, and it was like, no, you wanted to see what was going to happen after the White Walkers got through the wall. It's like, oh shit, man, I want to see the fucking rest of this shit. And then it's like they came out and like, yeah, it's not coming back until next year, and everyone just had like a freaking like meltdown, like the world was ending, but I after a while I'm like, you know what, I really do miss that. I want to see it, and it's like I gotta wait, and then I'm like, it's like, fuck, man, I hate this shit.
I know, but it's worth it though, because they really are putting the production value into it. They're not rushing it just to get it on the screen, So, yeah, it's going to be sick. And yeah, I think you just ruined the whole thing for Scott, by the way.
I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. That's all right.
Yeah, well, very similar to our show.
Exactly. Well, why break with tradition?
Now, one thing I gotta say is I did listen to your last episode, and I love the fact that you guys talked about going to conventions, and the last convention that you went to, Todd, at the expo there in New Jersey.
Exotica.
Exotica. Yeah, I saw all the pictures, man. I seen all those pictures.
No, well, wait. First of all, no, you have not seen all the pictures.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, believe it or not, there's more. There actually are more coming. I just got tired of sifting through photos.
Yeah.
You go there and you're like, holy shit, what do I take a picture of next?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun show.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like it, man, because every once in a while, man, you throw up there, you're like, is your day feeling blue? And there's a picture, and then people's like, whoa, and then of course, the people make you go on a rant there, Todd. It's like, oh, dude, how do you meet so many people, man? And it's like, fuck, just go to a convention, It's like I'm right there in the same boat. I went a few years ago, back in 2015. I went up to New York, first time up in New York. There, you probably remember this. I went up there for a WWE pay-per-view, and while I was there, I got to meet two superstars, WWE superstars, and I shared the pictures on Twitter, on Facebook, and they're like, "Whoa, you got to meet so and so." I think it was Seth Rollins and Paige at the time. It's like, man, how'd you meet them, man? What'd you have to do? It's like, I just went. I bought a package. You could do the same fucking thing. It's like, it's not hard to do something like that,
Yeah, no, it is funny. I laugh about that all the time. It's like it would be like if somebody asked you, like, Todd, how did you get all the way from New Jersey to Las Vegas? Well, there's this thing called an airplane. People really are funny like that. How'd you meet Robert Wagner? Well, I knew where he was going to be, so I went there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you get wow, you meet all these people. It's like, yeah. It's just, yeah.
It's called leaving your fucking house once in a while.
Yeah, people forget they can do that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they forget about it, man. They forget about it. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. I know you've been to a few conventions yourself there, Scott. Up there in Arizona, you were talking about one that you went to. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. If just this year or upcoming.
No, I was going to go to one this year, but I couldn't do it. My legs were bothering me way too much to be able to go out and actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which is the problem with some of my health issues is if I'm doing well, then I can go out and do something. But if I'm not, I'm just kind of stuck in the house watching episodes of shows that nobody cares about.
Well, that's when that premium subscription to Pornhub comes in handy.
All I need that for is like 30 seconds a week.
Oh.
All right.
Oh
boy.
Oh my God. Oh damn.
Yeah.
Subscription to Pornhub. Oh damn. Yeah, it's like an episode. It's like an episode of Family Guy when Quagmire found out about the internet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was freaking hilarious, man. You didn't see him for a few days, and Peter's outside his house. He's like, Quagmire, where you been at? And he's all like, look like he hasn't slept and stuff. And he's like, I got a computer. I found about the internet. I'm just going out, and he points to check the mail, and his arm's all jacked like Schwarzenegger.
In fact, this article I just posted this on Facebook tonight, just a little bit before we started recording. And there's a company in Sweden that is now giving their employees an extra week off a year so they can masturbate.
Damn, no way.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
way.
no, I'm serious. You can check that on my feed. And I'm thinking, all I need is an empty stall in 5 minutes. You know, I don't need a fucking week for that.
Jesus, a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, how long can you during the week before you rip the damn thing off?
A week, like all at once, or
30 seconds at a time.
30 seconds at a time.
wait a second. You need to give you a week off to go and masturbate? What the fuck is the men's room for?
We've been working for the wrong companies all this time.
I know, right?
If I knew I should get paid to do that,
Oh my God. Oh my
I'd be a millionaire.
Oh my God. Hey, anybody see Scott? Yeah, he's on his jack-off break. Oh, all right.
Oh, I got
Get out the hand sanitizer.
Yeah, no one wants to shake Scott's hand in a meeting.
Oh man, there we go.
Now this is a force to be reckoned with.
We are earning that mature thing at the beginning.
Yeah,
That's for mature audiences only.
Mature audiences. Yeah, my brain just took a dump all of a sudden.
Yeah,
like it does every time I'm recording. Yeah.
Now this is for sensitive ears now, right now.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Sensitive ears left long ago, I think.
Oh damn.
Oh God, this is live, right?
Yeah, this is live, man. We're live on Twitch.
Oh no, folks, there's no 7-second delay here.
Nope. Especially with masturbation, there ain't no delay if you got a good stroke.
No, there isn't. Yeah, there's a reason why my dog is blind in one eye.
Oh God. The ASPCA is going to be knocking on your door.
I'm trying to find something here I'm gonna play since you mentioned masturbation.
Oh God.
Yeah. Try and get on track now, Everett. Let's see you do that.
Let's see if I can find it here. This may be it. Yeah.
Go back to sleep, Jimmy.
What's going on, Aunt Diane?
You're getting your cock sucked, kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh damn! I had to, man. I had to freaking go there, man. Damn.
Listen, you do what you got to do. It's all for entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all for entertainment, man.
Well, and if there were any guests that actually deserved that one, it probably would have been us.
Yes, I agree.
I only play that for the guests I like, man. And I like you guys, man. I enjoy everything you do. I'm entertained every week listening to the Imaginarium podcast. I'm sitting there, when the shows come in and I'm updating the website and stuff. I'm putting them up. I'm sitting there in the morning drinking my coffee, 6 o'clock in the morning, drinking my coffee, listening to Scott and Todd talking about bad social media, bad choices, stupid people, masturbation, and just everything. That starts out my day, And then it's like, oh, how was your, if I went to work, the
good thing is you can only get better from there.
I guess I should point out and mention that this month, actually November 24th, will be the 4-year anniversary of the Imaginarium.
Oh, nice! Congratulations, guys!
Wow,
congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. Yes,
that is awesome. You got anything planned for an anniversary show?
I'm working on something Todd doesn't know about. And when I say that, he can probably figure out, oh, great, Jay's going to be back on. What the fuck? And that's it. I think Jay's going to come back on because he's actually really more kind of like a third host at times because he's been on the show so much, and he was on it a few times before Todd even started on the show with me, and he was on the Super Nuts debate show that I was on even before the Imaginarium.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been around for a long time, and it's always good to reminisce about it with him.
Nice.
Oh, absolutely. I love having Jay on the show. He's always very entertaining.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but nobody else wants to come back on anymore. So,
Yeah. Well, they've had enough of our shenanigans.
Wow. I enjoy it, man. I enjoy your shenanigans and stuff, and I definitely got to say that you guys have. I look at everything going on in Podcast City Network, and when I'm looking at how each show's doing and stuff, and you guys are hanging in there, and just you guys are up on top there with the rest of the shows there, and it's great because each show is different. I love the variety that we have on the network. I mean, we got 2 wrestling shows that talk about independent wrestling. We got one show that talks about pop culture with a lot on comic books and stuff. We have your show, which covers just about anything, just different topics on different things, which is great. I love the variety each week that you bring, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I think this week we're going to be recording tomorrow, and I think we're going to talk about Stan Lee and comic books and comic book movies this week.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
I'm just letting. That's my way of telling Todd what we're doing when we get on to record tomorrow, because he didn't know that.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, I love spontaneity.
Well, but this is how we do it every week. People think that we have these topics and stuff laid out for the entire year. Well, you don't know until like 5 seconds before I hit the record button what we're going to be doing that week.
Yeah, and it's true. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way, because if it ever became too planned and too scripted, I think it wouldn't be fun anymore.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. And even when I started the Imaginarium, it was very different from what it is today. It was I had a guest. Excuse me. I had a guest every week, and it generally had something to do with entertainment, whether it was movies or books or whatever. And it was very much almost like an NPR type of talk show. It was very serious. And then I decided that I wanted to have a co-host, and I asked Todd, and just the dynamic of having a co-host made the show change. But because of our personalities and the way we mesh together, the show just changed, period. Mm-hmm. And for the better, I think, because I don't know that I could have gone as long as we have, because we've done 171 episodes so far. I don't think that we would have gotten that far, or I wouldn't have gotten that far if I had kept up the format that I had from the beginning.
Right.
And the changes lost some of our older listeners, but thanks to Podcast City Network and your support, and I have to say, in all seriousness, I really appreciate how much you've supported us since you started PodcastCity.net. I always love hearing you talk about our show because it makes me realize that, well, hey, at least there's one person a week who's entertained. So that makes it all worth it.
Yes. I want to say thank you for that, and I do. I am entertained by it and stuff, and I talk about and I support things and content that I love, and I share it with the rest of the world, and people know that. It's like I support everything that you guys do. I support I had you on ELS Uncut a few months ago, Scott, talking about your latest book. Yeah. Todd, I had you on last year. You and Tom Ryan talking about theater terror and just helping you promote that and getting word out and stuff. And I love doing it and stuff. And then I'm any way I can spread the word and get the word out there. I love doing that, and just get it out there. Someone's like, "What is that?" I think I'll check it out. And I do appreciate the words and everything, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and as far as Todd goes and his Theater of Terror movie, and in all seriousness, I just want to say, I can't wait till this fucking thing comes out so we can stop talking about the goddamn thing. Every week it's Theater of Terror. Yeah, we know you're making a fucking movie. Who cares? Get it out so we can go on to something new, please. Thank you.
Yeah, you did mention that on the last podcast there, man.
You know what? You're fucking right.
Oh, damn. Honestly,
right. I'm at the point where I want the goddamn thing out already.
As soon as I seen Todd put out that tweet or that post on Facebook that Theater of Terror's coming out for pre-order on Blu-ray, I'm like, I know what I want for Christmas. I want it. That's what I want for Christmas there. And I went back and I was listening to more of when you had Tom Ryan on and stuff, and it was funny because how you're like, Tom, it's like, we've been I think Todd was like, we've been promoting Theater of Terror on the podcast, which you don't listen to. And then the last episode you just put out, Scott's like, I just want this fucking thing to come out so I can quit hearing this shit. I love it. I love it, man. It's so great, man. It is so great.
I agree with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing, talking about Tom Ryan, when I had him on last a few months ago for ELS Uncut, when I was had that mainly is like doing interviews, and before I switched it up with switch both shows around, Everett Lee Show and ELS Uncut. Tom was telling me about the movie Faces he did, and he was like, it's on Amazon Prime. So I got on there and I watched it. Man, I loved it. I loved his performance in that movie, and it's pretty good. It is. I messaged him and I told him, I'm like, dude, I was like, I had to ask about the table part because in how that was shot, and he told me about it, and I was like, dude, loved it, man. I loved the ending of it, and I loved how his character went freaking crazy, and it's just the faces on the wall talking to him, and he's like about to lose his fucking mind. I was like, this is great. But my one favorite part was when they showed it on camera, him walking in and talking to the guy at the desk, and he told him, I guess he didn't get the job or something, and he got up and left, and he comes back and he just fucking kills him. I was like,
who can't relate to that? You go in on a job interview, you think you do good, and then you just kind of get shit on. And I mean, that's your natural reaction. I want to go in there with an axe.
I know. He comes back with an axe, and it's like, what are you doing? No. It's like, chop, chop. I fucking loved it, man. It was great. It was really a movie. I love
Faces is one of my favorite indie horror movies, and Tomer and I will never agree on anything about anything. But I've told him this time and again. I love his work on Faces. I love his work as the director, and I urge everybody to check out Faces and all the other stuff that Tom has done, because he is one of the most talented indie directors working today, in my opinion.
He is.
Oh, fuck, I hope he doesn't hear this.
I'm on it. He's not going to listen to it, Todd.
Oh my God, he'll be insufferable. Oh God, Jesus Christ. Now, all kidding aside, this is the first project that I worked on, with Tom behind the scenes, and yeah, Tom, look, he knows this. I've told this to his face. There are times he drives me absolutely fucking crazy, but he is a talented filmmaker and a talented actor, so you can put up with that, if there's things about him that make me want to throw him off a bridge. Well, I can tolerate that because, when I see the finished work on the screen and I'm like, holy shit, we did that,
Yes.
And I just have to give all the credit to all of the crew and the cast. I think I said this on Imaginarium, but I can't remember, so I'll say it here. Whether it's an indie film or a big budget Hollywood film, the process is still the same, and it's still a whole bunch of hardworking people behind the scenes, whether it's, somebody holding a boom mic out in the rain or, something like that, guys holding lights and whatnot. My dad, out in the woods doing lighting effects, freezing his ass off. It takes a lot of people to do it, even in indie film, So, all kidding aside, it was great working on it, and I can't wait for it to be finished. We joke about it, but I really can't wait for you guys to see it, to hear what you think about it. So,
yeah,
we're putting the finishing touches on the, we have some extras and some behind the scenes stuff that we're working on for the Blu-ray. So hopefully that'll be done soon.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward for this to come out and to actually see it and stuff. And I'm excited because of seeing everything that you shared on social media, what Tom shares on social media about it, and it's really great. You were Jack Thomas Smith. Remember when he did the movie Infliction? And he had one of the leads, Jason Mack.
Yeah.
I guess Jason just recently got done directing his first indie feature film, I guess.
Yes, I saw that on his Facebook feed. Really happy for him. He is really a nice guy. I interviewed him on the Imaginarium as one of my, one of the solo shows. Him and Armstrong.
Yes, Elliot Armstrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and then the sister, and then Jack. I think I interviewed everybody on that fucking movie at one point. It seemed like, because I had because there were 2 episodes back to back, and it had everybody from Infliction on it. But I'm very happy for Jason because he's really a nice guy, and I hope this does well for him.
He is. I've interviewed him a couple times. I had him come on when I had Jack Thomas Smith on back in when I was first starting out doing podcast. I had Jack Thomas Smith on. He was like one of my, at the time, my like real big interviews, and I talked with him, and I ended up getting to talk with Jason Mack, Ellen Armstrong, and Anna Shaw. I got to talk to all of them. And I ended up getting to talk with Manny Del Rio, and I pretty much got to talk to everybody when I first started out doing podcasting about 4 years ago, which was great, man. It was pretty good starting out and getting the director and the actors and the actresses on there, and it's like, wow, this is just fucking great. It's just out of the blue. He just messaged me. He followed me on Twitter. I followed him back, and then out of the blue, I was at one of those times in my life because I was at the point when I started out. I was like, man, this ain't gonna work. I'm like, I'm about to call it quits. I was telling my wife, and she's like, you really want to do that? I'm like, yeah. And then out of nowhere, Jack messaged me. He's like, hey, you do podcast? You want to do an interview? I'm like, okay. So we did the interview, and after I listened to after I did the interview with him and listened back to it when I was editing the episode, I realized I'm like, the passion and everything he talks about for doing indie films, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna continue on with this because this is just so fucking great, in getting an interview with someone, and it just kept going, and here I am today. It's just fucking great.
Yeah, his enthusiasm for what he does and for movies in general really is catching. I think he really was probably one of my first big interviews too. I got an email from his publicist for Infliction and asked me if I wanted to do an interview with him, and she sent me a link. Excuse me, for the movie to take a look at it. And then we set up an interview time with him. And then he introduced me to Jeremiah Kipp, who introduced me to Todd, and then Tom Ryan and some of the others. Yeah. So Jack Thomas Smith is really responsible for my meeting Todd in an offhanded way, and to a certain extent making the Imaginarium what it is today. So blame Jack Thomas Smith for what we do.
Yes. He connected all of us, man. He connected all of us. I know I had, afterwards, I know Todd was working with Manny Del Rio on the Indie Lounge, and then I got Todd on. That's how I found out about Todd, because I was listening to his, his reviews on films, and I'm like, I want him. I was like, I want him, but not that way, Todd. I'm like, I want him. I'm flattered. So I hit you up, and then you came on, and we did that episode talking about cult films, man. I think I still have it on the archives on my computer there. I should fire it up and remember what we talked about. I think we talked about Rocky Horror Picture Show. We kind of went into talking about just different cult films, like I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then
I think I talked about Todd Browning's Freaks.
Yeah,
was a big one. Yeah,
yeah, and then
sure,
and then you just about went on to a Michael Myers Halloween rant with Rob Zombie, and you're like, it started going on about it, and you're like, you know what? We'll talk about it at a different time. It's like, you're like, yeah, Halloween, and then you went into talking about it and stuff, and you're like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about Rob Zombie. What the hell with the character Michael Myers at the beginning? I don't want to see that shit, And I'm like, it's already established. I'm like, yeah. I was so entertained by it. It was.
We could do an entire episode on why Rob Zombie's Halloween sucks.
We were actually going to do that for our Halloween show this year. We had talked about that on an earlier show.
Uh-huh.
We were going to talk about all the shitty Rob Zombie movies, which is everything that he's made, and make that our Halloween show. But we didn't do that. But I still think it's a great idea that we need to do, and just talk about how shitty he is as a director. I think that would fill an hour easy.
Yeah. One.
Oh, please, absolutely.
One thing talking about, since we're talking about horror movies, and one thing I seen on TV, I'm like, do we need another one of these fucking movies? Another movie about exorcisms? I'm like, come on, man. How many movies have they done about that? Really?
Well, what are you talking about? I think it's the Exorcism of Hannah Grace or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that the one that's coming out soon, or The Possession of Hannah Grace?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you, but now see, I am a little bit biased because I'm a big fan of religious themed horror films. I always have been. I don't know if it's because I was born and raised Roman Catholic before I, eventually left the church, but I think there's just something really creepy and scary about religious themed horror.
Right.
But having said that, you're right. How many different ways can you do a possession movie? So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the trailer looks okay, but again, it looks like more of same. So I agree with you there. How many of them do we need?
Yeah. I watched one time. I was with my nephew, and he got a copy of, I forget what movie it was. It wasn't the Last Exorcism of Emily Rose. It was something like it was an exorcism movie, or done like a found footage movie. You know what I'm talking about, where the girl's possessed and stuff, and towards the end of the movie they're about to do some kind of sacrifice to her or something, and the guy, like, she's gonna give birth or something to some demon, and the priest or something runs out in the field, and he gets caught on fire, and then the cameraman runs away and he gets killed at the end or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's the Last Exorcism, and
yeah.
I thought that movie it was great up until the last act, because
exactly
I thought that the premise. Yeah, I thought that the premise of it, like, here's a guy who does phony exorcisms. He's a swindler, and he does phony exorcisms to make money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now he came across the real thing.
Yeah.
And oh shit, what is he gonna do? And then it just it got so cartoonish. I was so mad when at the end of that movie, I wanted to punch the fucking theater. Like, I was so mad about how they handled it. It just got really cartoonish at the end.
It did.
With the demon baby and the fire and shit. I'm like, oh, really? Really? That's what they did? Oh.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's what ruined it for me right there. It did. I was into the movie there. I was enjoying it, and then that last part when he ran out there and he got caught on fire, and then the thing was, I was like, really? And then after it was over, I looked at my nephews. I said, you know what? This movie was good. They're like, yeah, man, this is really good. They're younger than me. They're like, yeah, this is really good. I go, you know what? This movie is really good. That last part of the movie right there just fucking killed it for me. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, yes, I do. I said the movie was great, but that just killed it for me right there. I'm glad we agree on that right there, Todd. Have you ever seen it, Scott?
I have not seen it, no.
Yeah.
I figured I saw the best Exorcist movie ever with The Exorcist, so I'm good on Exorcist movies. I don't really need to see any more.
Yeah.
Because none of them are going to top the original Exorcist, so why bother?
Yeah, exactly. That's my favorite one, The Exorcist. Now, I will have to say the Exorcism of Emily Rose. I did watch that like you did, Todd. Like you're watching the Hill on Haunting House, or you were watching that with the lights dimmed and everything and stuff. And I watched that when it first came out. Actually, when it did come out on DVD, and me and my friends were sitting there watching it in the room, lights off, everything, and like the surround system going and stuff. I mean, the whole feel. And honestly, I have to say that, yeah, that right there just, it did it for me, because I thought that was good. For me, I kind of put it up there almost to what the Exorcism is, but I mean, there's so many of the Exorcism movies they've done, and I totally agree with you guys.
So,
yeah, awkward silence. Awkward silence.
Show's over. Bye.
Well, we were going to talk about one thing.
I thought we were going to talk about Thanksgiving movies, and here we are talking about exorcism movies.
I know. Well, real quick here. What movies during the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, do you like watching? What do you like pulling up and watching? I'll start with you, Scott.
For me, it's something that I've watched every year since I was a very little kid, and it's the Laurel and Hardy movie, Babes in Toyland. For me, nothing signifies Thanksgiving more than that movie, because it's on every Thanksgiving, and I watch it every year, and I never get tired of it. I absolutely love that movie, and it puts a goofy fucking smile on my face every time, and I just never get tired of it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that is a good one. I in a similar vein, I like March of the Wooden Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
But for Thanksgiving, like when you said Thanksgiving movies, I said, well, what movies other than a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving? Because in my family, we would have our meal and then we would watch football. You know, we didn't really watch holiday movies on Thanksgiving. But for me, the best Thanksgiving movie, hands down, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I definitely agree, man. I definitely agree with there. John Candy and Steve Martin, just great.
I'm just sleeping here with my hand between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. Yeah. It's just look. Scott and I have talked about, the comics that we love, and while I do love like sort of modern comedy and raunchy comedy and stuff, I do miss those days, just John Candy, Steve Martin, just being silly and having, one mishap after the other. It doesn't get any better than that. So that's probably my favorite Thanksgiving movie, if I had to think about Thanksgiving movies.
Yeah.
Holiday movies, we would have to do an entire show, because I love Christmas movies. And I don't mean that that bullshit that they show on the Hallmark Channel. I mean, honest to God, Christmas movies like Miracle on 34th Street and Bells of St. Mary's and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not that cheesy fucking crap about the boss that finds the true meaning of Christmas, after he fires everybody. No. Lifetime Channel can go fuck itself.
Well, and Miracle on 34th Street, you could actually almost consider a Christmas Thanksgiving movie, because it's about, a Thanksgiving Day parade Santa.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I am.
Yeah, well, for everything there is the first time.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd have to say Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. That's one of my favorites there. It was one of my father's favorites, man, because he loved He loved John Candy. He loved Steve Martin, and the classic comedies like that is just great. And around Christmas, of course, I mean, you can't forget the two movies I'm going to mention here: Chevy Chase, Christmas Vacation, and Christmas Story. You can't forget those.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, my favorite Christmas movie now is Krampus. I saw that a couple of years ago, and I absolutely fell in love with that movie. It's scary, it's funny, it has a lot of heart, and it's got really kick-ass ending. That's my all-time favorite Christmas movie now.
Oh, nice. I'm going to have to check that one out. I've heard of it. I definitely did. Now, would you agree or disagree with this? Bruce Willis came out and he basically said, no, that's not a Christmas movie. For a long time, the debate was Die Hard, would you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie? Did you hear about that when he finally came out and he said, no, it's not a Christmas movie? And a lot of people are like, yeah, it is because it's in Christmas. Have you heard about that?
Well, I have, and I have to agree with them. I never thought of it as a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
People are just fucking stupid.
Yeah. It's the dumbest fucking thing in the world to argue about, too, you know? Yeah. But then you have to kind of say, well, what defines a Christmas movie? Yeah. The only thing that makes it a Christmas movie is it's a corporate holiday party. That happens to be the focus of the movie, when the movie takes place.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not about Christmas. It just happens to take place on whatever, Christmas Eve or whatever,
Yeah.
People fight over the dumbest shit, I swear to God.
I know. Now, one time, I did throw that out there one time because it was last year, they were talking about Christmas movies, and it was I was at work and at my old job, and they were talking about Christmas movies, and it was people that I didn't really care too much about, and they're sitting there talking about Christmas movies. They're like, "What's your favorite Christmas movie?" And I was like, "Die Hard." And they're like, "That's not a Christmas movie." I said, "Yeah, it is." I knew because I agree with you that it takes place, the premise in, inside a building at a holiday Christmas party. But I did it to aggravate, because I did it to argue, just to aggravate them. I'm like, yeah, it is, man. I was like, it takes place during Christmas. Oh, no. It's an action movie. I was like, no, it's a Christmas movie. Going back and forth, just aggravating them with it. And I'm like, yeah, it's an action movie. But another good movie I'd have to say I enjoy watching is the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen. I love watching that, especially like the first and second one.
Yeah,
I love watching those.
Well, I don't think I've seen any of those.
No?
Shut what?
No, because they came out when I was like an adult, so I didn't go to see them, and I just never really had much of an interest to see them when they pop up on cable.
Yeah.
They're actually really good. The first two, part 3 is absolutely awful. Absolutely awful.
It is.
But 1 and 2 are actually really good. And see, so for me, Christmas movies, like, once they have a special thing for me because I have a tradition with my daughter. When we're putting up the Christmas tree, we watch Christmas movies in the following order. It has to be in the following order. We watch A Christmas Story, and then Elf, and then Santa Claus 1, and then Santa Claus Part 2. And that's it. It has to be in that particular order.
Yeah.
So that's why I love, I just love Christmas movies. Christmas is by far my favorite holiday. Everybody thinks because I'm into horror that Halloween must somehow be my favorite holiday. And I do like Halloween, but I've always just loved Christmas, even into adulthood. You know, and Christmas movies are just a part of that.
Yeah, they're my favorite because you get with the family, you sit around and you spend time. You can watch a movie like you described there with you and your daughter do, put up the Christmas tree, watch Christmas movies, and me and my wife will sit there and we'll throw on some movies there and watch it, and then I'll, like, when Christmas Day, no matter where I'm at during Christmas Day, run around family and stuff. About every house I go to, relative's house, they got a Christmas Story playing, so I can watch that movie all day, going house to house, catching parts of the movie, and by the time I get back home, the last part of the movie's playing, and then I'm pretty good. So I pretty much seen it. But
I cannot calculate how many times I've seen that movie. I know every word, every scene, every shot. But I did see online today the best news ever, and that is that Fraggle Rock Christmas and Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas are going to be shown in theaters this December. And that was the
awesome.
best news. That was the best news I ever saw, because I love Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Nice. You said Fraggle Rock?
Yeah, I forget what it's called. I forget the actual title, but it's the Fraggle Rock Christmas special, like Fraggle Jingle Bells or something like that. Yeah. I can't remember. I don't care about that one as much as I do about Emmett Otter, but because they were both Jim Henson, they're pairing them together, and then they're going to be showing them in theaters. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, damn! I'm gonna have to look that up. That is awesome. I remember watching Fraggle Rock when I was growing up, and one thing I know this has nothing to do with Christmas. I was happy that I came upon Pee-wee's Playhouse on Netflix, because I used to watch that Saturday mornings growing up. And Fraggle Rock, I loved it, man. I did. You know, and heck, that was my favorite there. And I like the talking about Christmas movies. I like Christmas morning, before they started doing the TNT started replaying 24 Hours of Christmas Story. I liked how they would have the claymation of Santa Claus and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I love watching that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite, even to this day. I still love that. And, of course, Frosty the Snowman. So, yeah. But pretty good selection and pretty good variety of Christmas movies that we all like. And I do love the fact that we have the same interest and different interests, different opinions, same opinions about a lot of things that we talked about tonight. And that's why I love having you guys come on, because I never know where the conversation is going to go. You know, I mean, tonight would be pretty much, I mean, it went from Christmas movies to horror movies to masturbation. You know, I mean, just a great podcast tonight.
Just another typical night with Scott and Todd.
Yep. Yeah. I definitely do love that, man. What do you guys have coming up, and any plugs of anything that you want to mention before we end the podcast tonight?
I think Todd has a movie coming out.
Maybe. I don't know. You might have heard of it. It's called The Theater of Terror. Now, well, what I really want to, enough about that. What I want to talk about just real quick is my favorite charity, Scares That Care. Is kicking into overdrive for the holidays, raising money. My toy drive and fundraiser is coming up on Friday, December 7th. At Cafe Z in Union, New Jersey at 7 o'clock. We'll be collecting toys and raising money for Scares That Care. We've got some live entertainment. We've got photos with Santa for donations, photos with the Grindhouse Girls for donations, and it's always just a great time. Last year I think we collected 137 toys for needy children. I want to break that record this year. So that's what I'm also focused on. I'm very fortunate, and I realize that I get to do the things that I do, that I get to make movies, and that I get to do the podcast with Scott, and I get to do a lot of really cool things. But I do try to keep in mind that there are people that are not as fortunate. So that's why I partner with Scares That Care. So like for the holiday season, we're kicking it into high gear to try to do some good. So if you're in the New York, New Jersey area, you can head out to Cafe Z on Friday, December 7th. Come and hang out with us. It's always a good time. If you cannot make it, find me on social media. I'm all over the place. I'm a social media whore. You can find me on the Horror Nerd Facebook page, my own page, Todd Staruch. I can give you the information on where to send toys and where to send donations. So that's really my big thing, leading into the holidays.
Nice.
Well, I don't have much other than my book, Life in Amber. You can pick that up at Amazon, paperback, and any place ebooks are sold, as well as my other books and my novella, Barbed Wire Kisses. And there's a documentary coming out on DVD next year called Confessions of a Gay Poet. It's a documentary about Wade Radford / Jay Proctor, and I am in that as a talking head. So for those who want to ogle my features while I'm talking about my best friend, take a look for that. I don't know specifically when. I just know it's 2019 sometime.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Well, so
I guess I have a movie coming out too, so fuck you.
Wow. You both have movies coming out. Wow. Well, you can catch Scott and Todd of the Imaginarium every Monday, drop an episode on Podomatic. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
that's how I say it.
Yep, Podomatic. And, of course, you can check them out here on podcastcity.net, on the Podcast City Network. You head over to podcastcity.net. You can check out Imaginarium with Scott and Todd, the Everett Lee Show, ELS Uncut, Second Rounds, New York and Florida edition, Super Radio Brothers, The Chris Carnage Show, Final Score, the Phoenix Gate Podcast, and much, much more on the podcastcity.net. And, of course, David C. Russell, Deathmatch Russell Podcast, and Robin Nelson, Russell Podcast, Paranormal Files 13. You can follow Podcast City Network on Facebook, Podcast City Network, and on Twitter at Podcast City Net. And before we do close here, I want to mention that Kentucky's Own Wrestling, Saturday, November 7th at Williamsburg National Guard Armory, Williamsburg, Kentucky. Bell time, 7:30 p.m. Best of Enemies event will be taking place. And be sure to check out Kentucky's Own Wrestling on Facebook. And that is it for the Everett Lee Show. And next week, I will not be doing a podcast. It's Thanksgiving. From the Everett Lee Show, Everett Lee, want to wish everyone a happy, safe Thanksgiving. And thank you to my guest for coming on tonight, Scott Todd. And that's it. Everett Lee is leaving the building. See you again in a couple weeks for another episode of Everett Lee Show. Peace.